Hey guys, in this video I'm gonna show you how to install the R7 slipper clutch on the MT07. If you just want the installation steps, I'll link it down below with a pin. But before that, why a slipper clutch? So a slipper clutch is basically a type of clutch that smoothens the downshifts. Anytime you downshift your bike, your engine and wheel RPM are off sync. So as a result, your wheel basically gets a huge amount of engine braking all of a sudden, and this can upset the rear wheel. Slipper clutch basically slips the clutch plates a little bit and helps smoothen that transition. And I'll show you a little bit of my track footage where this can be really beneficial. As you can see, a lot of these downshifts, I'm basically just flicking the clutch lever in, shifting down, and then flicking it out. And I can still get away with this without upsetting the rear of my bike. If I had a conventional clutch, a lot of the shifts probably would unsettle the rear wheel quite a bit. But because I have a slipper clutch, the clutch is doing the slipping and the smoothing out for me. And yeah, you can say that you can learn to downshift properly, and it is definitely a skill that you should learn to have. But with auto blippers and slipper clutches, they're basically tools that helps you focus on the other million other things that you're concentrating on in track day. So clutch assemblies can be pretty expensive, slipper clutch ones, but the MT07 has the advantage where the R7 clutch is basically a perfect fit for it. And so as a result, you can buy an assembly for about $300 if you buy all the parts new, or you can pick up a used R7 assembly from eBay for a lot cheaper, which I did for my case. One really important step before you start this job is to put your bike in 6th gear. You probably won't be able to do this with your bike turned off, so it's really important that you do this before you start the job. And if you go farther into the video, you'll see why. So as you start off, first thing you got to do is unlatch the clutch cable from the clutch hub. And after that, you start unbolting the clutch case bolts. So some people recommend taking the water pump off and before that to drain the radiator. But in my case, I attempted to do it without doing it and noticed that I was able to get away with it without any issues. The one thing you got to be careful about if you don't take the water pump pipes off is not to put too much flex on the pipes when you take the cover off, because the cover is pretty heavy, so you got to lay it down gently and make sure that you're not stressing your radiator pipes. And other than that, the other big tip that I can provide is to keep a piece of cardboard with a drawing of your clutch case. And I recommend this for any big job with a lot of bolts. This way you can keep track of all your bolts because they're not all interchangeable. So after you take the clutch case off, we'll get to the pressure plate. At this point, you unbolt all the springs that are being held on to the pressure plate. And once you unbolt and take the pressure plate off, you can slowly start picking out all of the steel and friction plates in your clutch assembly. So this leaves you with your clutch basket, and this can be pretty tough to remove because that nut is tied in extremely tightly. So after you basically flatten out that little bend that's used as a second lock, you got to remove the nut. The proper way to do it is to use a clutch removing tool that basically attaches and holds your clutch in place. I didn't have the tool, so in my case, what I did was I put the bike in 6th gear, put as much pressure as I could on the rear brake, and use that torque to get the nut loose. And remember guys, you gotta do this while the engine is still on, because in a lot of bikes, especially this MT07, you're often not able to shift up and down gears with the engine turned off. So before you start this job, remember to get your engine in 6th gear. So with the bike in 6th gear and my rear brake firmly pressed, I was able to loosen this torque with just a torque wrench. If you can't do this with just a torque wrench, an impact wrench should take care of it. But after that, you can loosen the nut and pull the clutch basket out. So here's the old stock clutch and the R7 clutch side by side. As you can see, the R7 clutch has some ramps on the pressure plate and on the clutch basket. And what these do is basically when the wheel spin and the engine spin are not synced up, there's a amount of force that's applied on it that basically pushes the ramps outwards, and that creates some slip on the clutch, and that's how the actual slipping action takes place. So now I'll be putting in the new slipper clutch. At this point, guys, I highly recommend to look up a parts diagram of the clutch assembly for your bike's clutch, because there's a lot of little parts that go into the clutch assembly, and if you mess up even one of these, your clutch probably won't work properly. There's a ton of parts and it's really easy to mess them up. And before you get started, make sure to soak all of your parts in engine oil at least for a couple hours beforehand. So I put in the washers and then the basket, and after that I'm gonna put back in that nut. And once again, to tighten it up to torque, what I had to do was push on the rear brake really hard, and that got me enough torque to get it up to spec. After that, once the basket's in place, you can start putting in the steel and friction plates. You gotta be really careful, guys. There's a couple of friction plates that I think go at the very beginning and very end of the clutch assembly that are different than the other friction plates. That's the case for the slipper clutch. So be really careful. They're very easy to miss, and you don't want the wrong ones to be put in different order. And once again, parts diagram is really helpful over here. I had this assembled beforehand, and I had them organized before I started, just so when it came to installing, I could just plop this in really quick instead of having to look them up. So the last plate goes in along with the pressure plate, just so you can align the things properly. So put in the clutch springs and then adjust the pressure plate and put that in and tighten the nuts to spec. It's not a lot of torque, so just make sure to torque them carefully. After the new clutch is installed, all you gotta do is put the case back in together. For me, as you can see, I had to lie the bike down, and the reason for that is there's a small rail gear that's used to connect the clutch cable with the clutch plates or the pressure plate, and getting that aligned is a little bit tricky. So I just laid the bike down to make it a little bit easier for me. You don't have to lay the bike down, but sometimes it could help. And after you get that aligned, all you gotta do is put all the case bolts back in. And for me, that also included the engine covers or the case covers that I have. I used the impact driver to drive them in, but the final bit of tightening, I did that with the torque wrench, just so I can torque the case bolts to spec. And that's it. And there you have it. That's how you install the R7 slipper clutch on an MT07. It's not that much work, but you still have to get quite a bit of bolts out and know how to assemble the clutch back together. But once you have that, you have a functioning slipper clutch, guys. Thanks for watching the video.